So you're interested in property tax foreclosure sales? Well, this is attorney Bob Diamond, and you, my friend, have absolutely come to the right place, because in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about property tax foreclosure sales, how they work, how you get the list, what the things are to look out for, and a special little niche way to do this that is absolutely going to blow your mind. So let's get right into it. Property tax foreclosure sales happen when someone doesn't pay their real estate taxes for 3 to 4 years. When someone doesn't pay, the county will sell that property at a public auction to the highest bidder. And the minimum price that you need to buy the property is just the taxes that are owed. So imagine buying a property for just 3 to 4 years worth of real estate taxes. That typically adds up for between 10 and 15% of the property value, even taking into account penalties and interest. So you can potentially get some amazing bargains at those sales. So how do you do it? Well, step one is to get the list and then find out about the sale. So the way you get the list is start out with a simple Google search. Search the name of the county, the state, and the word tax sale. So DeKalb County, Georgia tax sale is a good example of it. Or Hamilton County, Ohio tax sale. Or Montgomery County, Pennsylvania tax sale. Name of the county, name of the state, and the word tax sale. That will generally bring you to a website of whomever holds those sales. Now, that person could be the county treasurer, it could be the county sheriff, it could be the tax collector's office. Doesn't really matter, counties can handle it however they want, but they're all the same. The property is sold to the highest bidder. And in all states except Pennsylvania, which is a little bit odd. If you want to learn about that, definitely check out my YouTube video on Pennsylvania tax sales. But in all the other states, those properties come free and clear of liens and mortgages. Now that's exciting. You can get a property that might be fully mortgaged up, but at the end of that sale, the mortgage is wiped off the property and you get it free and clear. And sometimes these properties literally go for pennies on the dollar. So there can be some amazing deals and definitely something you should look into. But these things are absolutely not for the uninitiated and uneducated, not by a long shot, because there are lots of tricks to the trade that you just need to know. Like here's just an example. If you were investing in Pennsylvania and you were working with the September upset price sale, that sale comes under and subject to mortgages and liens. So before you buy a property there, you need to have a title search. In other places, they don't give you occupancy of the property. So for example, when you buy the property, if there are people in there, you have to worry about it. You have to worry about evicting them, you have to worry about dealing with them, and the sheriff or whomever sold you the property has nothing to do with it. So you need to make sure you know the ins and outs. You need to learn about quiet title actions. You need to learn about getting title insurance. Also, these properties cannot be bought with mortgages. And the reason is that you have to pay right away. Typically, when you buy the property, at that point in time, you're either paying at that moment, or you're paying typically before the end of the day the balance of your bid. So there's no way that a mortgage company can move that quickly, and mortgage companies don't finance tax sale properties because tax sale properties often come with title problems that need to be straightened out. Now, title problems are either straightened out with you going to Tax Title Services, which is a company that offers title insurance for properties that go through tax sale for sometimes, or you're going to do what's called a quiet title action. That's a lawsuit that you file. Typically takes about 6 months and costs somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 to do. And at the end of that lawsuit, you get a judge's order saying that you own the property free and clear of liens and mortgages. Then you're free to sell it, you're free to refinance it, free to do anything you want. But you have to know about that, and you don't want to walk in there not knowing and not budgeting the time and money to do those kinds of things. So there are all kinds of little tricks that you need to learn before you go buying these things. Another one is if you're buying raw land at these sales, you can't tell if that land is buildable or not. Now, early in my career, matter of fact, the first property I ever bought, not only because it was the first property I bought, literally, I bought it at a tax sale for $3,000, and it was a lot in a really, really nice neighborhood. It's big, beautiful stone houses, really ritzy neighborhood. I thought it was the bomb. I bought this thing for $3,000, and at the time, the houses were going for $200,000 and $300,000. So I thought, this is great, because typically a lot's worth at least 10% of the home price. So I'm like, I got a $20,000 or $30,000 property for $3,000. I'm like 10x my money. Well, what I learned is that there was a problem. And the problem was that my lot was too narrow. My lot was only 48.5 feet wide. it needed to be 50 feet wide to build on the property. So in order to build on the property, I had to get a variance, which is legal permission to build. And for me, as a young guy just starting out, not having attorneys, not knowing much, my mind was just blown. And thankfully, I got out from under that property. I resold it for about $20,000 through a very lucky circumstance. And I got my money out, and of course made really good money with it. Bought it for $3 and it sold for $20, obviously great money. But it was one of those things, I just walked in not having any idea. And you just need to educate yourself. Other things that can happen, you could be buying a commercial property that has environmental problems. I've seen that. Don't buy commercial properties at tax sales, meaning like factories and former dry cleaners and things like that, because if you buy it, you're stuck with the cleanup cost. And environmental cleanup and remediation can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you certainly do not want to be the man or woman that purchases a property like that. So the houses you want to buy are houses to start with, hopefully in halfway decent condition and decent neighborhoods that you're happy with, but are standing structures. Now you can get great money on land, but land's a little trickier because you need to make sure that it has access to utility services like water and sewer and roads, because sometimes they're landlocked parcels, which creates its own set of problems. So this is not something to go in uneducated, but it is a great and lucrative way to buy properties because it really is the bargain basement of real estate. Tax sales are the cheapest properties, and I think they're great. Now, one difference you do want to know about, the tax sale properties are generally going to be in poor condition, generally, because if someone couldn't pay their taxes, they certainly weren't paying to maintain the property. So if you want properties that are also bargains, but maybe in better shape, probably the mortgage foreclosure is a better auction for you to go to. Those properties are more expensive and they sell for a higher percentage of retail, but it's good to know in advance that that may be something to check out. So I promised you I'd show you something that would absolutely blow your mind at the end. Well, I do this business that's related to tax sales and purchasing properties, but it's the flip side of the coin. I do something called overages. What that is when a property sells at the tax foreclosure auction, let's say someone owes 3 years worth of taxes and they owe $15,000 in total. And the property sells for $100,000 at the tax sale. What happens with that money is that the county collects $100,000, right? Follow me there. County collects $100,000, and then they take $15,000 off the top to cover the taxes that are owed. And then there's $85,000 left over. That is money that potentially a former owner is eligible to claim that they have no idea about. I promise you, they have no idea this money exists. Matter of fact, the statistic is that 72% of the time that money goes unclaimed. So these former owners think, oh, they sold my house, so I guess they keep the property. That's not correct. Yes, they sold your house, but they, meaning the government, keeps the money it's owed, but the rest of it, you're free to file a claim and you'll get paid on it. So what we do is we get lists of these monies that are left over. We track down the former owner, sort of tap them on the shoulder and I say, hey, you're eligible for a pretty sizable refund. Would you like to work with us in getting that refund? Of course, we're not telling them where the money is and giving them the benefits of research. We're telling them they're eligible for a refund that we'll help them with. And we help on a total contingent fee, so they don't pay anything until and unless we get the money, and then we get a percentage of what we recover. It's an amazing business where you're helping people that otherwise are not going to get the money. I can tell you statistically 72% of the time they will not get the money without us. They're also pretty helpless. They've been foreclosed out for taxes. They feel badly. They're not really in fighting mood and going to do a lot. So we really do a lot of good. We take people that are homeless and put them back into housing again. And we really help pick people up at the worst time in their lives. And we make a lot of money for ourselves and our family and have an ongoing business. So if that interests you, your next step is to go watch the Introduction to Overages video that I've recorded. There's a link down below that you can see. Just click on that link. It's a free video on YouTube. It's maybe 15 minutes long. And I'll give you an idea of this business. And if you want to take the next steps and actually learn the business, I do teach the business and I'm happy to do that. But I'll show you in that YouTube video what your next steps are. And I promise you, if you go watch that video, you're going to be amazed and intrigued because this is the best business. I don't have to put up money to buy properties. I don't compete with other bidders. Instead, I'm just going and recovering a big pile of money for people that really need it. And I'm making myself a lot of money for myself and my family. And it's just a perfect marriage of a business where I help people and make great money. And what could be better than that? So if that appeals to you, definitely go check out that video. It's got very low startup costs, low operating costs for the business. And it really is, to me, absolutely the ideal business. So Click on that video link and I will see you over at the Intro to Overages video. This is attorney Bob Diamond, over and out for now.